respond and be like, I want to be.
All right, so we're gonna learn about the two sample test, and it's very straightforward. Thank goodness. There's no weird stuff today. The pages are something. It's 1.5. Okay. With quite a bit of it taken up by the very large cut and paste of the 123 children. Okay. One of the examples on my arts and crafts thing. Okay, anyway, state. Okay, so state the hypotheses both parameters of interest. So like I don't know, just completely wild idea, random context, like proportion of home minus proportion away type thing. Just, complete randomly chosen context. Okay, so state the hypotheses, both of the parameters and alpha. Oh no, that's not a word. Bots? Okay, now really quick, just a note from grading from yesterday. I think only 3 or 4 people in the class put separate random samples as. You have to say separate random samples is, not just random check mark. When it's a 2 sample, you have to say that they're separate and you have to note that there's 2 of them. You can't just be like random check. Also, you have to do the 10% condition separately in 2 separate lines. You can't just be like, n equals 80 is less than or equal to all games. And you also can't do 160. You can't like lump them together in one sentence because you're lazy. You also can't do little quotation marks underneath and then change the one word at the end. Like, no. Do that on your homework, not on your test. Okay. Anyway, now there's a little like note here for the plan. Okay, it's new. Okay, so it's new. It's new, but it's not you, it's new. So, if you guys get your yellow sheet out and flip to the back, it'll make sense. So, it says pooled. Oh. Okay. I wrote, I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. I really wish it said that. What? I can't get rid of it. So what I meant to say was you combine them together into one big sample. So when you're doing the test for proportions, because you're making a claim that there's no difference, and so your claim is always the same for the null hypothesis, which is good news. But because you're assuming there's no difference, that means that you just put it all together in one big sample. If you look at the back of your yellow sheet on the on the very right side at the top, you'll see a calculation for p hat c, which is right here. And this is what you use for large counts. So just hold on to that. So I want you guys to put it's pooled. I mean, yeah. I just feel like perhaps that would be more fun, but okay, can I scooch this off to the side? Do you have your chapter 9 to sample? And then I box this in because this all goes together, those three things. Okay. Do you guys have it? Yes? Okay. All right. So do C equals I can't even write. It's just stick minus parameter over okay, and we are going to write the formula for that. So we're going to fill that in with symbols, which is going to take a little bit of the page because, okay, anyway, the statistic in this case is p hat 1 minus p hat 2. Does that make sense that if the parameter is p1 minus p2, that the statistic would be p hat 1 minus p hat 2, which is a number you will calculate off to the side. So if you remember from chapter 8, you calculated p hat 1, you calculated p hat 2, and then you did equals, and then you subtracted them and did equals the decimal. So you're going to do that same thing off to the side here. Same deal. Okay, now here's the fun bit. The parameter is always 0 for these problems because you're assuming a claim of no difference, which is great because you don't have to hunt through the problem to find the claim. It's always 0. And then standard error is one of in the bubbled region here, this guy. And we could talk about the math of that for a second. I think that College Board went a little above and beyond what's necessary here, but that's okay. So, does my note make sense over there? If the alternative hypothesis is not equal to, then you multiply by 2 on your final answer. Just like a little note for memory. You'll get into the habit of doing that. We just haven't had very many of them yet. I don't know, you don't know I can. Hold on. Are you on? You are? Maybe I shouldn't try to. Yeah, it was definitely. Are you okay? This is great. Oh, no. What? I don't.
It doesn't look as bad, but
I might have lost my. Oh, there's more in there. Just, yeah, just leaf through. Like, I'm gonna go click on it already. It might be a little bit too much space, but, are you guys close? Okay. Okay, guys, gotta do it. Okay, so we have 62, we have basically preschool and non-preschool in this problem. So is it okay with you if I do P minus Pn? P sub P minus P sub N? Okay, as hilarious as that is. Okay, so null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis. For all of these two sample problems, you're assuming there's no difference. That's the null hypothesis pretty much every single time. You don't even have to think about it. You're just saying, oh, there's no difference between the two groups. Okay, now this is the keyword for determining the alternative hypothesis. And so it says, by the way, whoever corrected me on the test, data is data in plural also. So this is correct grammar. Data can be data singular, data can be data plural. It's weird, but yay English. Do the data provide convincing evidence that preschool reduces the need for services for children? So what this is saying is the proportion who attend preschool less than the proportion who do not attend preschool that need social services later in life? And then what I like to do is just minus the P sub n in my mind. And write it like that. Can you guys imagine me minusing P sub n from both sides? Okay. If anyone's doing a social work major, this is the kind of thing that might be interesting. I'm skipping the later in life just out of complete laziness. And then I have to write the alpha level. If it doesn't say, you choose 0.05 as a happy medium. And you can put that up here if you're out of room. It doesn't have to be a last thing, just somewhere in there. Okay, plan. 2 sample Z test for P1 minus P2. I don't really want a colon there. I don't know why I put one. Okay. Random. What kind of randomness do we have here? Random assignment. What does that mean? It means it's an experiment. Oh, it says it's an experiment, the problem. But anyway, it's an experiment. So what do we get to skip? Okay. So large counts. So this is the first time that you've done the P hat C. C stands for combined. So grab your formula sheet. It says P hat C is the combined proportion. These X's are the successes. So it's first success plus second success over first sample size plus second sample size. Okay, so in our problem, the successes are 38 and 49. Does that make sense? I don't know if it's a success if you need social services later in life, but you know, whatever. Okay, and then what is the total sample size? You see, I just sort of skipped there. You could put 62 plus 61 if you like. Here. If that 123 is confusing for you, just did 62 plus 61. Do you see where I got the 62 and 61 from? Okay. And just from my previous work, this is fun. It comes out to be our area code. Okay. All right. So we have N is 62 times P hat combined greater than or equal to 10. We have 62 times 1 minus p hat combined greater than or equal to 10. We have 61. Is it okay with you if we, for time purposes, steal those numbers away from? Okay. Okay, any questions about the state or plan of things? Okay, I'm gonna flip my page over to do the do part, as you can tell from the fact that I've used the bottom line. Everybody okay if I flip my notebook over? You sure? Okay. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is find p hat preschool minus p hat no preschool. And this is not the same thing as the combined. This is two separate fractions. So this is 38 over 62. That's preschool. And then non-preschool. Does that look right? Okay. Okay. And then that comes out to be negative 0.190. Okay. Everybody okay with where I got all that from? Okay. All right. Z equals. This is my statistic. So negative 0.190 minus the parameter. Remember, the parameter is what you're assuming, which is no difference, so 0. I really don't want you to think that this number is like this minus this. This number is just the front, and then minus 0 specifically, over. Okay, so now we're here. And I really want you guys to see that because this is the same number, they just factored it out and put it in the front. Okay, so this equals this in this type of problem. So they just factored it out and put it in the front. That's the only difference. It's not a fancy new formula. It's just they did some factoring. And I don't know why, but whatever. Is everybody okay if I steal my number from that from previous work? Okay, now using your Jedi mind tricks, do you think you're going to reject from a z of negative 2.31? Probably. It's kind of a very negative z. Most likely. You'll get excited. Okay, p-value. Nope. Nice. Party emoji. Why is it party? Because it's less than 0.05. Now, real quick, just check for understanding. Do I need to multiply it by 2? No. Why not? Yeah, it's just plain less than. So it's only one side or the other. It's not equal to, which would be both sides. Just want to make sure that we understand that. Okay. Since our I love rejecting the hoe. Okay, now I'm a really lazy person. At this moment, I can write out the whole, the true difference of proportions is blah, blah, blah. What I do instead of that, because I'm lazy, is I go back to the question and answer the question. So I go, we have convincing evidence. And then I look back at the problem and I'm going to answer the question. We have convincing evidence that preschool reduces the need for social services for children like those in the study. This is so much easier to write than whatever writing the ha would produce. Do you see what I'm saying? So if it's easier, just go back and answer the question. And then you have a little bit, I don't know if you noticed a little bit of a nod to chapter 4 right here, which I'm not going to put in my conclusion, but it's saying like those in the study. Do you know why that's a little nod to chapter 4? Because random assignment you can use for cause and effect, but you can't generalize it to the population. So you have to say that. But we don't need to put that in our conclusion. That's over and above. Now, if I were you and I was doing a test, I would just write it exactly as it's worded because I wouldn't want to even wonder. But we're on CPT schedule today in our brain and on the clock. So let's move on. Okay, now what if they just got a wonky sample? What if they just got a bunch of kids that, that just ended up being unusually needing of social services? It's possible, right? You get a sample where there's just a higher level than normal. Okay, so if you reject the hoe, which I love to do, is it type 1 or type 2 possible? Type 1, remember? Because fail to reject is 2, because it's got the word 2 in it, which sounds like the number 2. Wouldn't that be sad? We did this whole research study and we're like super excited, found that preschool really helps kids when it actually doesn't. There's actually some research that says that preschool does not help kids. I hear Miss Rice debating the merits of preschool all the time, but there's a lot of pros and cons. Did you guys go to preschool? Happy Hearts? Anybody? Happy Hearts kids? My kids went to Happy Hearts. Okay, do you guys know what it's like putting them under too much pressure when they're too young is kind of the con. Like they should be at home and playing. I guess you do play anyway. Okay. Last thing. Can you generalize the results of this experiment to all children? No. Right. I heard from a few people that you were doing some stats and go. Okay, what do you need to do to be able to generalize to the population? Because I feel like that's something that we do a lot here in this class. What does it have to say instead? Random sampling, random sampling. Could you do a random sample of people and then randomly assign them and get both? Yes, but that's unethical if it's an experiment that they don't want to participate in. Could you do it if it's possible? Yeah. Maybe if it was a fun experiment, you could do it. If it's like stabbing them in the leg or something, probably not. I just came up with worst case. Okay, it's from the coffee that I spilled on my leg this morning. That's what gave me that idea. Okay, I do have a fun joke. What time are we? 16? Done at 16? I made it. Ooh, 10? I just made it. Okay, just look at my joke real quick then. It says, there's a stand-up comedian, he says, I once asked a statistician out. She failed to reject me. Nice.